Buenas, Micronesia. My name is Troy Torres with Kandit News. Welcome to our studios here in Hagutnia. We have some guests off the camera tonight who are chatting it up about some really interesting gay shit. Happy Gay Pride Month. And just our luck, us being gays on Guam, the lead story of gay things on this island is that some dude was was caught filming another dude apparently jacking off in a bathroom at Macy's. I hope the footage was worth it. And then I don't know who this guy is, right? And I don't want to say his, I don't want to embarrass him or whatever. The other news stations already said his name, but looked him up on Facebook, and apparently he has a boyfriend or something. It's like some guy kissing his cheek. And then my friend, one of my girlfriends, made a comment like, God, they kind of look like twins. And automatically, I popped a boner. I was like, twins? You know what? We've all got our shady shit going on in our lives, all right? But still, not cool to film someone over the bathroom stall at Macy's or anywhere else. Happy Gay Pride Month. And speaking of gay pride, what's so funny? Are you going to join in? No, the lighter. So, not that he's gay, but, and I've already told Sasa this, like I told her this, I've told Sarah Phyllis Camacho this a long time ago. I was not. So, when I was much younger, and this whole MMA thing was coming about, right? Everyone had their MMA crush. Mine was Frank the Crank Camacho. And when, oh yes, you fucking fags over there. and when Sarah landed him, I was like, fuck, lucky bitch. But Frank is equally lucky because Sarah is beautiful. And so I've gotten to know them like a little bit over the years, and they're just wonderful people. So it's congratulations all around to Frank the Crank Camacho for his win in Sweden. It not only is that like a great thing for the Marianas, but they're just wonderful people, and so good on them. Good on Frank. We have a full lineup for tonight. I'm trying to get through things very quickly. I learned tonight something very disturbing about hospital culture on this island. I learned this like 20 minutes ago. So I kind of always wondered who inspects Guam Memorial Hospital. This is before GRMC. And I just thought it was the Division of Environmental Health. You know, they inspect like the restaurants and they inspect the stores and all that shit. Excuse me, the schools, the cafeterias, the gyms, all that shit, right? So I just thought, you know, Tom Nadeau and his crew over at the Division of Environmental Health, over at Public Health, were the inspecting body. So I come to find out that actually no one inspects GMH or GRMC for any sort of adherence to safety and health protocols except for, well, themselves. And they certify to governing commissions like the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and what is it? What's that accrediting body called? The Joint Commission? And the Joint Commission, that they have these certified hospital beds or licensed hospital beds. Apparently, GMH and GRMC issue their own licenses for those hospital beds when they like sign off to CMS and to JCO about the safety of those hospital beds. And it all circles back to this discussion about Asher Dean Lebowski and baby Faith Tidegui, who were children who died of septic shock, MRSA related. MRSA is MHRSA. I cannot spell out that acronym. Is everything okay? Oh, the tag is showing? Oh. Thanks, Chalu. this comes to, I mean, we find out more about these things as we ask questions about, how did these children get these infections, and a lot of it's related to the fact that hospitals are breeding grounds for drug-resistant bacterial strains, like what MRSA is. So, and that's what leads to the septic shock, and then the blood is infected, and then you die very quickly. So whenever you hear about, like, people in their they're in their 30s, they were in perfect health and they died. Maybe I shouldn't have used 30s. Like in their 20s, or they were children, and then, if they're teenagers, you automatically think that they committed suicide, or if they were like very young babies, you automatically think SIDS or something. But many times when you see that someone who was perfectly healthy and rather young has died, it's because they went into septic shock, because they had a cold that they didn't really take care of, and it developed into pneumonia, and then by the time they get to the hospital, it's too late. The infection's in the blood. But sometimes it's because they were hospitalized. Well, actually many times it's because they were hospitalized for something else. And while they're in the hospital, they come into contact with this MRSA through an open wound or something. And because some of our doctors are incompetent or don't give a shit, and some nurses don't wash their hands properly or according to certain protocols, or maybe they're too tired because they work very busy schedules, shit happens. And unfortunately, when shit happens, that means people die. In the case of baby Faith, she was nowhere else but a hospital from the time of her birth. So she got the MRSA infection from the hospital, from GRMC. And then, worse than, well, not worse than, but as far as accountability goes, when the failure to inspect properly results in death or some severe injury over at our hospitals, it's not like they report it anywhere. There are no reporting requirements for our hospitals. So if the senators want to do something besides check on the bathrooms at the parks, or fly on their junkets for FestPac, or hand out resolutions or go to funerals or whatever, they may want to join the land of the living and the people of Guam and do something about what appears to be a broken link in regulatory requirements that would keep the people of Guam safe in the hospitals here on Guam. Moving on. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me not move on from that 1 second. I want to read to you on Asher Dean Lebowski, the 4-year-old boy who died at Guam Memorial Hospital from septic shock. He received, his father, David Lebowski, received a letter from SDA Clinic. And SDA is where Asher Dean went to get treatment for what at the time had already been pneumonia. That's the going theory. Before he went to the ER at GMH because his condition had severely devolved. So SDA's administrator sent this fucked up letter to David Lebowski. Let me read it to you. Or you can go to my screen, Chalu, if you can see it, so people can see this. So the letter says, it's dated May 23, Dear Mr. Lebowski, as administrator of the Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, I find it necessary to inform you that the clinic will no longer be able to serve as a provider of health care to you and your family, effective 30 days from the date of this letter. Well, you stopped providing health care to him and his family when his son died, fool. Like, you didn't provide him health care. That's why he died. This is a result of your pursuing litigation against the clinic. No, it's a result of you guys killing that child. Well, circumstances that led to his death, as well as your repeated meritless accusations in the media against the clinic and its providers. Fuck off, SDA. The clinic recommends that you promptly find other healthcare providers. Yeah, people who won't kill his family members. You may want to contact your health insurer or consult the yellow pages of your telephone book to obtain names of other healthcare providers. They're just, what a piece of shit this guy is. The clinic will remain available to provide routine healthcare until 30 days from the date of this letter, while you arrange for other providers to assume your care. In the event of an emergency, please call 911 or go to the nearest hospital emergency room where there's MRSA all around. A records release form is enclosed with this letter. Upon receipt of your signed authorization, the clinic will forward a copy of your records to your new providers. Oh, you mean the records that he was asking from you guys that you wouldn't release to him? Assholes. The appropriate clinic providers are able to discuss your care with the new providers to assume your care if you wish. That's a big fuck you to the SDA clinic. They wrote that cold-hearted, where did I go? Yeah. They wrote that cold-hearted letter to Mr. Lebowski, still mourning his son. This is what Mr. Lebowski wrote. Are we still on my screen? This was 2 days ago. Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic has banned everyone in my family from using their clinic due to what they call, quote, meritless accusations, unquote, and litigation regarding what happened to my son Asher, leading to his death 2 days after he saw Dr. Shinshin Miyagi, who still works at SDA Clinic, by the way. Read their attached letter below. Do they, for 1 minute, think that we would ever go back to that clinic after how they discriminated against and treated my 5-year-old son who then died? The sad thing about this is that the letter reads like a cold-hearted form letter, and it may be just that, as they have had other malpractice cases filed against them. Oh, I didn't know that. I was approached by a woman 3 months ago who told me to be ready for such a letter, as her family also sued the clinic, as has others, for malpractice, and they got such a letter. How many malpractice cases have been filed against the Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic and its providers? Is it the most on Guam against any clinic is the question. For more info on my son's last days alive, experiences at the Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, and what happened, check out www.guamopinion.com. Also see our video response to this letter below, The Journey of Justice for Asher Dean. Please share, thank you. I didn't realize there's a video. I guess this is it. Let's, so we'll remain on our screen, Chalu, and then, hold on. Yeah, let's stay on my screen and I'll play this video.
Nung isilang ka sa mundong ito,
such a sad story that happened to that little boy, and his dad is all up on this issue, and he's making this fight not just because he is angry and shocked about the loss of his son, but he's trying to prevent this kind of thing from happening to other people. And so we applaud him for that. And we're just gonna, whenever he posts anything, we're gonna bring it out. Because what he is fighting against is the corporate corruption on this island that literally kills children. A couple nights ago, as part of a personal redemption and my need to bring peace into my life and the lives of people I've hurt, I revealed that a crackhead named Adrian Cruz works at the governor's office. In the beginning, he called himself the senior advisor to the governor, but then as I've come to realize, and I'm not one to like pat myself on the back or like toot my own horn, but I will right now because this shit is true, and it's like psycho true, is that this dude has been like obsessed with my life, not like with preserving my life, more like trying to live it, but without me in it, you know? His name's Adrian Cruz. So he said that he was the senior advisor to the governor. I was like, oh, that's very cool. At the time, I didn't know he was psycho. I was like, oh, it's very cool, Adrian. You know, God, that was my title when I was at Adeloop. And then I looked at the staffing pattern, and it said his title was policy advisor. And I was like, well, this guy he just fucking made that up. Like, he just made up his goddamn title in the beginning of the administration. And I wouldn't have any problem with this guy except for what I found out about what he fucking tried to do to my life, and it involved my love life at the time. And so, if there's one thing I cherish more than my freedom, it is my love. I'm a lover. Not a fighter. No, that's not even true. So, thanks to that live cast where I outed the motherfucker as a crackhead and a psychopath, and he's still working at the governor. I wonder if they tested him today, but you know, since that was on Friday, I guess he had a couple days to get clean or whatever. Probably was a worthless weekend to him. but he's fat, so like, I don't know, it doesn't come out of the system that quickly when you're fat. So I got this, you know, people send tips all the time, right? Especially when I like say someone's name. Well, I got from a very reliable source that, I mean, I haven't been the only subject of Adrian Cruz's bullshit. So has Tim Rohr, you know, the megalomaniac, Tim Rohr. Tim actually went through a very difficult time when the neo-catechumenical way. What a stupid name, by the way. That's just a stupid fucking name. When the Neos attacked him, it was a very concerted effort by the Neos, not just the Neos on Guam, but from the Vatican and like worldwide. They like attacked Tim Rohr because Tim was the one who brought down the Apron administration and exposed the Neos for their grandiose plan here on Guam. And it was a good thing. And someone's going to throw a biscuit at me right now. But yeah, yes, so Tim was the one that did that. And Tim ended up in a bad family situation. You know, everyone goes through this shit, all right? Except that the Neos plotted out what they would do to him through this divorce. And part of that was arming his ex-wife with some very good attorneys. She didn't have any money. You know, what's plausible is that they paid for all those attorneys' fees or whatever. But Adrian's job in the whole thing was to hop around town to all the different like high-powered attorneys and schedule meetings for the ex-wife so that Tim was not able to secure a good attorney, or it was hard for him to secure a good attorney for his divorce. Yeah, they did that. Like, so people do that kind of shit. It's not very easy to do because you have to go to a lot of different law offices, but because they were so focused on bringing down Tim Rohr and the movement that he um, really championed throughout this island, um, they went through they went through all of that just to target this one guy. And Adrian Cruz was very highly involved in all of that. And it gives me great pleasure to expose that because I have developed a new Even Steven project. So, with that said, let's move on to less personal stuff and to the news. So, Rick Sanchez, and here's a disclaimer. Here's how you know I'm not full of shit, okay? So, Rick is married to my prima. He's married to my cousin Gigi, and I have I really like Rick as like he's. I mean, he teases me for being a fag. I tease him for like he talks like this, like hey Troy. Aside from that, like we've always we've been friends, and so I don't. I'm not gonna enjoy reporting this, but we can't just ignore it. And so, Rick, I'm sorry. I'm I have to treat you like everybody else, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat things, but I'm also, as I treat everybody else, I'm not going to judge you unnecessarily either. So you'll get a fair shake from me in this report. Because Cello, you're the one who do you have the documents, or do I have to put them up on the screen? Okay, so I'll just throw up the documents then. Excuse me. So back in 2016, hold on. Let me just open all this shit at one time. Go to my screen. Back in 2016, the district court issued an arrest warrant for Rick for, I believe, two counts, two violations of federal law, federal criminal law under 21 U.S.C. Conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine, and, well, there's a notice of forfeiture. That's the second one. The arrest warrant was issued following an indictment in criminal case 16-00006 in United States of America versus Ricky Sanchez. The warrant was returned as received on March 17. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And he was arrested that same day at Agania Heights. He was arrested at Homeland Security. And this is what it was for. Oh, son of a bitch. So here's Rick's indictment on March 16, the day before he was arrested. On March 16, 2017, a grand jury returned an indictment for those two counts. So it says, from on or about March 1, 2014, and continuing until December 31, 2014, Ricky Sanchez knowingly and intentionally combined, conspired, and agreed together, and with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury, to distribute 5 grams or more of actual methamphetamine, a Schedule II controlled substance. Let's do this one by one. Hold on. So that's essentially what you need to know about the indictment. Then he signed a plea agreement on May 3, 2016. Here's his plea agreement issued about a month and a half after his indictment and arrest. So the prosecutor's office has said that they do not want a downward departure in the sentencing guidelines for Rick because they said that he did not cooperate, which is bullshit because Rick did cooperate. And you see it right here. A friend of the defendant, Renee, arranged for Francisco Arias. Francisco Arias is someone who was indicted. I cannot remember if that case is still ongoing or if he's already been sentenced. But it's another case in federal court, and well, as we'll show you in these filings, it deals with the evidence that Rick Sanchez was able to provide in that case in the form of his cooperation with federal investigators after Rick's indictment and arrest. To send a package to defendant at Homeland Security, Ricky Sanchez used to work at Guam Homeland Security. Defendant never actually met Francisco Arias. The only contact was through the telephone. A package referred to as the Tim Steiner 1 package excuse me, was sent to 721B Chalin Palazzo, Hagutnia Heights, Guam. However, as indicated in subsequent text messages between the defendant and Arias did not copy the address correctly. Said package should have been sent to 221B Palazzo, Guam Homeland Security's correct address. The postal, God, I was going to Homeland Security like all the time for like all these different like typhoon activations or North Korea bombing activations, all that stuff. I had no idea that ICE was being sent right there. The postal inspector intercepted the Tim Steiner 1 package in Las Vegas, Nevada. The inspector opened the package pursuant to a federal search warrant and recovered a substance that field tested positive for the presence of methamphetamine. Blah, 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 blah. It had 27.424 grams and was, holy shit, it was 100% pure methamphetamine. Rick had the good shit. Further into this plea agreement, John McDonald, an employee at Homeland Security, signed for the package and later gave it to the defendant. On March 24, 2014, the postal inspector interviewed the defendant and received consent to search defendant's cell phone and then observed Francisco Arias' contact information in defendant's cell phone. The defendant admitted he was supposed to receive a package containing methamphetamine from Arias, but he could not remember who he was supposed to give the package to. The defendant said he expected to receive between $500 and $1,000 for receiving the package, and he expected the package to contain methamphetamine because he was told there would be stash inside. On March 17, 2016, federal law agents interviewed Homeland Security employee John McDonald. McDonald told agents he signed for the Tim Steiner 2 package because he was the only logistics person available when said package was delivered. McDonald stated that after opening the package, he decided to take it to the post office and return it to the sender. On the way to the post office, McDonald saw the defendant, who told McDonald he would take care of the package. 1 week later, the defendant offered McDonald an envelope with money in it, which McDonald refused. Well, there you go. Fruits of the crime. And also, in federal filings itself, it shows, well, from the time of the interview, Rick was cooperating. Had given up the source of, well, the sender of the meth, which is always what federal investigators are looking for. They're always looking to climb up that ladder and see who's at the higher perch or whatever. And it was because of Rick's testimony that the federal government was able to move on to this guy, Francisco Arias. Here's the trial brief for Rick Sanchez. During the course of this investigation, the defendant was employed at Guam Homeland Security. This is the federal government's trial brief. The defendant's place of employment is relevant in this case because he had arranged for methamphetamine to be shipped to his work address on at least 2 occasions. The defendant ordered his methamphetamine from Francisco Arias, who has been convicted in the District Court of Guam in criminal case number 14-0009 for, among other offenses, conspiracy to distribute more than 50 grams of methamphetamine to people residing in Guam. Because Arias and Sanchez exchanged text messages, blah, 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 blah. There's more info on the cooperation. On March 24, 2014, Inspectors Hoffman and Hutchison interviewed the defendant. The defendant told the agents he had recently attended a job-related training in Las Vegas and that he called Las Vegas to dispute a credit card charge. The defendant also said that he had contacted his party about the disputed charge. The defendant was shown the contact information for Arias that appeared in the defendant's cell phone. The defendant said he contacted Arias to find out where he should deposit money for his party's son. The inspectors asked the defendant if he had received any packages at Guam Homeland Security Office. He denied receiving any packages at the office. The defendant told the inspectors he hadn't smoked methamphetamine in 3 years. The defendant told the inspectors he met Arias through a cell phone call when Arias called him and said to the defendant, Marco wanted me to give you a call and I tell you I was sending you something. The defendant told the inspectors that Arias obtained his cell phone number from either Marco or Marco's girlfriend, Renee. The defendant admitted that he sent Arias $300 by way of Western Union. And this shit just goes on and on and on. But then, so, the rest of the media has focused on and less on shaming Rick and more on the fact that there are highly placed government officials who wrote letters, character letters for Rick so that it could support his attorney's move for a downward departure in the sentencing guidelines so that, Rick doesn't have to spend a lot of time in jail or maybe any time in jail. And so the ones that stood out, the rest are family members, friends, etc., right? Are letters from Marcel Camacho, Frank Blas Jr., Mayor Melissa Tavares, the governor's chief of staff, Tony Babalta, Chuck Esteves, who was Rick's boss at the time and also was his friend. So that's one of those things where, I mean, maybe you might not agree, but to me, I find it understandable. You ask your friends for letters of support, and they're your friends, so they're going to give you a letter of support. And they did this in their personal capacities, apparently. From the Agate mayor, who I also understand is Rick's friend, and from Captain Steve Ignacio, who was not the chief of police at the time, but I understand also is Rick's friend. And so the ones that were really left to wonder are the governor's chief of staff, Mayor Melissa Tavares, Marcel Camacho, and to an extent, former Senator Frank Blas Jr., though I believe former Senator Blas was the person who hired Rick at Homeland Security back when Frank Blas was the Homeland Security advisor under the Camacho administration. And these are their letters of recommendation. This is from Marcel Camacho, Frank Blas Jr. Yeah. It's personal for him because his wife's a crackhead. Mayor Melissa, Dee Dee, take that pipe out your mouth. Mayor Melissa Tavares, who used her letterhead, actually she used her title for this one. Tony Babalta was not the governor's chief of staff at the time that he wrote this letter. This was in 2017. I believe he was unemployed. Or no, he was Matson's lobbyist at this time. And there's his letter. This one is from Chuck Esteves in his personal capacity. So there's that. And there was a lively discussion on the radio today about, what were these political leaders thinking? And this is why, so many people think that politics on Guam is just so corrupt because it's always who you know and not what you know. And I suppose that this story really does exemplify that. Rick doesn't come from a rich family or anything like that. It's not like he has anything to offer to politicians that politicians just grind themselves over, and that's big money or big families with lots of votes. Rick was, over the years that I've known him, very instrumental in campaign wins. He was always a leader in the logistics area and in the ground game for wherever they needed him. And so in that sense, there was political debt to be paid to him. And I guess some of them were paying it off, but some of these people really are just his friends who happen to be in political positions. And there. That's all I have to say about that. I just thought it wouldn't be fair to everybody else who we report about if we didn't report about this too, just because I had a conflict of interest or a certain bias about it. I wanted to be real with you guys that, I guess even if it is my family or friends, we're going to present the story. And then here's the story of no one I'm connected to. This was unsealed today. Oh, son of a bitch, where is this? There. Where is this stupid thing? Hold on, fan, because I'm trying to find it. Hey. Todd Zegwa. All right, so are we still on my screen? Okay. Search warrant, an application for a search warrant was filed a few days ago in district court by Sean Adzuzu from the DEA task force. If you recognize that name, it's really just because he's crooked. He was on the Mandania drug task force. He's Rachel Taimana Adzuzu. That's the husband. Oh, thank you. Crooked as they come. Mandania drug task force, former. So he filed for this application for a warrant. Judge Francis Tiding Gatewood signed off on it on the same day. What the federal government's going to seize is a lot of phone information, and I believe any Google shit here? No, just lots of information from a bunch of phone numbers. Hold on. How do I? It's just not even in order. Hold on, let me get my shit together here. Oh, sorry, it's not in order. Those are the particular things to be seized from, and I'll explain it to you in a second. Okay, I'm just going to read this and let you know that I don't know anybody. I don't know the names of anybody here. But according to this search warrant and the facts establishing probable cause for the search warrant, there's been a lot of singing down south. On October 31 last year, David Torres was arrested by GPD for possession of a Schedule II and Schedule I controlled substance and illegal possession of a firearm, approximately 8 ounces of suspected meth, several firearms, and nearly $19,000 were seized as a result of Torres's arrest. Torres was Mirandized, he waived it and agreed to speak with investigators. Torres provided information that Jeffrey Camacho and Cynthia Paulino were his source of supply for methamphetamine. Based on Torres' statements, investigators at the Guam Police Department was able to obtain local search warrants for Camacho and Paulino's residences. So a day later, on Wednesday, November 1, the DEA Guam Resident Office personnel participated in the execution of 2 local search warrants by Guam Police Department Mandania Drug Task Force and GPD Special Weapons and SWAT. On November 1, law enforcement executed the search warrant at number 226 Luna Avenue in Agani Heights, belonging to Cynthia Paulino. As a result of the search warrant, investigators located 4.4 ounces of a crushed glass-like substance suspected to be meth, 30 grams of suspected marijuana, 14 grams of suspected coke, and $510,000 in cash. It tested presumptive positive for meth and coke. Resulted in the seizure of drug paraphernalia and a firearm. Both Camacho and Paulino were charged in the Superior Court with multiple counts of possession. Camacho was additionally charged with possession of a firearm without a Guam firearms ID and possession of an unregistered firearm. On Thursday, April 11, 2019, while at DEA GRO in the presence of Paulino's attorney, Samuel Tecker, Azudu and Jeremiah Cruz conducted a proffer interview with Paulino, who provided the following information. So this Paulino began cooperating. Paulino stated she purchased an ounce of methamphetamine at a time and paid $3,200 to $4,500 per ounce. And according to the calculations in my head, she knew someone. Once purchased, Paulino would break down the meth into gram or plate quantities and sell them. Paulino described plate quantities as user quantities. Paulino stated she normally sells a gram for $300 or less, depending on how many grams were being purchased. Fuck, I wish I knew her when I was a user. Paulino claimed to make approximately $8,000 on a good day selling meth. Investigators noted marking on packages containing methamphetamine found at Paulino's residence with DX, LA, RF, M, KF, S, and A3. Paulino stated that some customers had a preference on the meth they would purchase. I didn't know that. Depending on their preference, Paulino would obtain the meth from corresponding bags and indicated that a few of her customers have requested and preferred the meth from packaging A3 or LA. It was like a candy store. Investigators asked Paulino what A3 or LA meant, which Paulino explained that A3 was the third order of meth supply from Agate. This is where shit gets real. Paulino further explained that LA were the initials of her source of supply from Agate, Liberty Uggan. Paulino stated she initially ordered her meth from Jeffrey Camacho, who then called his source Rick Buds and paid $4,800 for an ounce. Paulino stated she facilitated her drug transactions with Camacho and Buds using her cell phone. Paulino stated herself, Camacho, and Buds would meet at Camacho's residence in Mongmong to complete the drug transaction. Paulino stated on one occasion while conducting a drug transaction with Buds at Camacho's residence, Buds was left by his ride and had asked Paulino and Camacho for a ride back home. Paulino stated that she contacted Buds directly to purchase methamphetamine. According to Paulino, she had successfully purchased meth from Buds on numerous occasions in the past. That reminds me of the time that I was arrested for weed by then police officer Maurice Sayama, along with my friend Angie. And you know how they tell you, like, you know, just be quiet, don't say anything, ask for your lawyer, whatever, right? So after they found the 2 joints and the pen pipes that Angie always had to have in her car, Officer Sayama was like, how many times do you guys How many times do you guys buy this shit, huh? And without even like a split second of thought, Angie says, every day. Fuck, you know? This kind of reminds me of that. Paulino further stated that prior to, yeah, his name is on this. Paulino further stated that prior to the search warrant execution on her home, she texted Buds to order more meth. However, another individual responded via text message indicating he was Bud's party. Paulino subsequently arranged to purchase an ounce of meth with the unknown individual and was instructed to meet at a residence in Agate. Prior to meeting in Agate, Paulino was provided directions to the residence via text message, which indicated second left after the cemetery. Let's share, I know that. The second left after the cemetery. At the residence, Paulino met an individual who identified himself as Butterball. Butterball retrieved an ounce of meth from a white Toyota Tacoma truck that was parked at the residence. Paulino stated on a subsequent drug transaction, again at Camacho's residence, Paulino met an individual named Liberty Uggan, who was standing outside the residence and was operating the same Toyota Tacoma pickup that met Paulino and Butterball at the Agate residence. Uggan admitted to Paulino that he, Uggan, was the one who left Buds at Camacho's residence after Buds sold the ounce of meth to Paulino. Based on what Uggan told Paulino, Paulino believed that Uggan is the source of supply of meth for Buds and Butterball. In the presence of Paulino's attorney, Samuel Tecker, Adudu and Cruz obtained a written consent to perform a digital forensic examination on Paulino's mobile device with phone number 686-8947. I can see some of you now putting that shit into your phone to see if it like pops through any contact. Paulino acknowledged by signing the Guam Police Department's consent form. There's a lot of phone numbers. Adudu conducted a digital forensic examination of Paulino's mobile phone and discovered that phone number 688-3822 sent a message to Paulino containing directions to a residence in Agate. The phone number saved on Paulino's contact list as Maldo and had multiple calls and texts to and from Paulino's cell phone starting on October 11, 2018. On that date, Paulino sent a text message to Maldo believed to be utilized by Buds ordering an ounce of meth. On the same day, a subsequent message was sent to 688-3822 from Paulino negotiating the price of the ounce of meth, asking to pay $4,500. A response from Maldo indicated that $4,800 was the best price for the ounce. On October 13, Paulino again texted Maldo asking if the price was still the same, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Paulino believed that Buds, Butterball, and Uggan are part of a drug trafficking organization affiliated with the criminal street gang Agate Bloodtown, and that they use multiple phones for their drug trafficking activities. Paulino believed that the phone numbers listed in her contacts under RB Blood are also burner or work phones that Buds, Butterball, and Uggan use to facilitate the sale and distribution of illegal narcotics within their drug trafficking organization. Paulino used RB Blood as the contact name due to his affiliation with ABT. Based on my training and experience, I know that DTOs use several cell phone burner phones or working phones to facilitate their drug trafficking activities and to hide their identity from law enforcement. Now, this is all public information. You can find this in federal filings. I am not going to go further into this search warrant because, number one, I'm not about bringing down people in that world because, one, I came from that world. Two, I have not, though I am not using, I have not lost respect for, people who've been in that world or who are in that world. I very much recognize that I came from there and that when I hit rock bottom, those were the people who were there for me. So I provided enough information in this story and the reading of the search warrant to show people what has happened and what may happen as a result of this cooperation, which is unsealed by the federal government. But if you read further in that search warrant, there are phone numbers and there are names, especially a certain name, that are alarming, to say the least, that investigators, due to the cooperation of people who were mentioned there, against others who I already mentioned, and others who are in that filing but I did not mention, well, everyone just be careful. And I've been saying this for the last few weeks, that things are hot. And I kind of thought, based on the federal filings, everything seemed to have been kept to the northern side of the island. But according to this, they are deep in the south now. And yeah, there was the cocaine thing where the federal government was looking at places like Talafofo and Jonia, in Arahan even with some ice. But this is really the first big thing that we're finding, that where we see that there are federal eyes in agate. There have been other things, but this, if you read the search warrant, and you can find it, it's public, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I would encourage anybody who recognizes any of those names to read this search warrant, and just everyone be safe. Okay, so is everything okay? Fuck you, Carlos. Asshole. Let's go. So we'll end this with part 2 of what sex offender lives next to you in Dededo. Sex offender. CCU? Oh, I didn't look at that today. There's new stuff? Oh, we'll look into that. Yeah, we'll look into that. Do you have the documents? Yeah, but they don't update everything. Okay. Thank you. Maybe that's tomorrow. Okay, so we can go to my screen now. Okay, last night we ended at Jerry Anthony Cruz. So we're going to start with Joseph Terlahi Cruz. Joseph Terlahi Cruz is a level 1 sex offender. He is fat. He was born in 1960. He was convicted in 1991 of the highest level, first-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. His victim was a 15-year-old female. He lives in Dededo at 764 Swamp Road. What? What's funny? Oh, because he's fat. And this is exactly where he lives. Right off of Waisengsong in the turn to Swamp Road. He lives 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 4th left. Roger Perez Cruz, who is born in 1994, convicted in 2015. He's on parole right now, convicted of 3rd-degree criminal sexual conduct as a 2nd-degree felony. His victim at the time was a 15-year-old female. He has 4 tattoos, 3 on his chest, 1 on his back. He does not have a vehicle. He works somewhere in Barragata. And he lives on Machechi Avenue, number 3A. Well, according to this map, he lives like at the corner of Machechi and Route 1, but so that can't be right. There's something wrong with this address. But he lives on Machechi Avenue, apparently, and there's lots of places there. Thomas Garrido Cruz. Born in 1961, he's also fat. His conviction date was 2005. Convicted of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. His victim was a 15-year-old female. He has 3 tattoos, and he lives on 182 Lemonchina Street. And Lemonchina Street is in Machechi. Where is this? Okay, so up here is like Winchell's and what's that place next to Winchell's? Like American Grocery or something. And then you go down like you're going to, like you're heading to Laddie Heights, and then you take one of these turns, and there, where the red pin is, that's where this sex offender lives. Oh, right behind Villa Rosario. Vince Louis Hokug Cruz. He's a level 3 offender. I guess sex offenders eat good. Conviction date was in 2000. Third-degree criminal sexual conduct as a second-degree felony. He is a 14-year-old female victim. He has a shit ton of tattoos. And he lives at 1198 West Sangsong Road. Oh, he lives pretty far inside West Sangsong. But just like right there. Oh, sorry. So here's Swamp Road. So if you're going toward Machinanao from Route 1, it's just the third right turn after Swamp Road. Eloy Vincent Sablon de los Santos is not fat, but he looks weird. He's a level 2 sex offender, convicted of 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct as a misdemeanor. He goes by Eloy Vincent Sablon de los Santos and Eloy Vincent Sablon Beneventi. And he has 3 victims, one 11-year-old male, one 15-year-old female, and one 16-year-old female. And he lives at 169 Kadzin Dulili. Let's see where the fuck that is. I don't know if that's Ironwood, but this is right outside Starts Golf Course. And I guess you can enter from NCS Road, or you can enter from Waisengsong. But whatever that development is, right to the west of Starts Golf Course. So pretty far into Dededo. And there's a shit ton of people living there. So I'm pretty sure there are a lot of kids living in that area. So FYI, this guy lives there. Ernesto Delgado Domingo is old. He was born in 1957. He's a level 1 offender. Convicted in 1999 of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. Jesus Christ, his victim was a 4-year-old female. All right, let's see where this fucker lives. 367 Swamp Road. So I think Swamp Road is winning. Swamp Road and Waisengsong are winning the awards for most sex offenders living in a condensed urban area. This is where that motherfucker lives, right off of Route 3 NCS Road and onto Swamp Road, just not very far in. Abel Alig Echpare, level 1 offender, also born in 1959. He was convicted in 2010 of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. His victim is a 6-year-old female, and holy shit, I know this street. He lives in NCS Dededo. Oh, I need to make a phone call after this live cast. Okay, Ernesto Rivamonte Enriquez II not only is fat, but needs a haircut. He's a level 1 offender born in 1972, is convicted in 1993 of first-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. His victim is a 13-year-old female. He has a white Toyota Sienna minivan, license plate, Sinahania 1498. He lives at 200 West Coronoso Street. Where the hell is this? Oh, this is Alligator Street. So this is the road. So here's the airport and stuff. There's the underpass. This is Alligator Drive or Alligator Street. And right before you get to the Laddie Heights Road, you make that turn, and I guess he lives there. Valvano Alexander Irwin, born in 1993, is a level 3 offender. He was convicted last year of invasion of privacy as a misdemeanor. His victim was a 24-year-old female. Peeping Tom, is that what it is? Well, the gays have one now, like Happy Gay Pride Month. Let's see. He lives off of NCS Road. After Finnegodson Elementary School, you take that turn into that from that main road, and this is one of those summer homes or Ironwood. It's one of those housing developments. He lives there. Ricardo Jerome Muña Ferrer Jr., who is born in 1982, is a level 1 Sex offender. He was convicted in 2009 of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. He has a lot of tattoos, including a portrait of his sister Janice. He lives on number 118 Mapola Loop. I don't know where that is. Oh, he lives in Almost Jigo. So, this is, to the left of it is Waipapo Estates. I guess this is the other side of Waipapo Estates. Lots of kids around that area. Charles Grainer Filiu, I don't know how to say his name. He was born in 1967. He's a level 1 offender. Convicted in 2015 of 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct as a misdemeanor. His victim was a 12-year-old female. And he lives at 207 Kalamasa Road. Excuse me. And that is in Mechechi, right off of Mechechi Road or Mechechi Avenue, which is the one that leads to Laddie Heights. What? Mark Maniola's on the sex offender registry? Oh, I thought that's what you said. Sorry, Mark. Ambrosio Victor Flores is a level 1 offender. He's fat. He was born in 1961, convicted July 6, 2000 of first-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony, second-degree CSC as a first-degree felony, and fourth-degree CSC as a misdemeanor. He has 3 victims, all female, ages 10, 14, and 14. And he lives on, he lives on Chalankoda, tract 543, block 4. Let's see where this is exactly. Oh, no results found. Well, Chalankoda is that area in Dededo across from what we normally consider as Istanbul Road. But it goes all the way like Chalankoda it goes far into Dededo. Alexander Regio Galendez, aka Alex, is a level 1 offender on parole. He was born in 1989. Is convicted in 2012 of 3rd-degree criminal sexual conduct as a second-degree felony. His victim was 14. And he lives at 121 South Guamela Court. Guamela. That's kind of a cool name. And this is Liguan Terrace. He lives right next to the mall. There was another sex offender who lives right here. I can't remember the name, but we reported it yesterday. Same area. Johnny Joseph Borja Garrido. He's definitely fat. He's a level 2 offender, born in 1960, convicted in 2001 of 3rd-degree criminal sexual conduct as a second-degree felony. His victim was 13 years old at the time. It's a woman. He lives at 142 Chalanfago. It's really what it says, Chalanfago. Let's see where Chalanfago is. Right off of Route 3. He lives in a stumbo, basically, almost immediately behind NCS Smart. And last one for the night, Nicholas Lynn Galt. Well, if the CSC charge doesn't get him a free sodomy at the Department of Corrections, I'm sure his middle name Lynn will. He is a level 2 offender, convicted in 2017. Oh, this is very interesting. Attempt to commit a sexual act upon a minor under age of 16. Attempt to commit a lewd act upon a minor under the age of 16. Attempt to commit a lewd act upon a minor under the age of 16. And wrongful use of methamphetamine. My friend said he didn't know how to twist the pipe. What is wrongful use of methamphetamine? I've never heard of that. And I want to know why the motherfucker wasted it like that. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, everyone. We can joke on this show. He lives on 474 White Sangsong Road, which is... Well, he lives real close to the schools, to 2 schools. On the way to the quarry pit, after Marie Joa, he lives close to lots of kids. Oh, that's our last one for the night, right? Okay. There's nothing else. Good night, everyone.